What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk about the PPP, but more specifically, I want to talk about what we still do not know regarding the Paycheck Protection Program. You see, with this newest $900 billion stimulus package, there is more funding and more money going to the PPP, which means that there will be more people who are able to apply for the PPP, and there is also an easier and more streamlined way to apply for forgiveness with the PPP as well. So this is really great news, but despite the fact that this bill was passed now almost 2 weeks ago, there is still a lot of questions that have yet to be answered regarding this program. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what we do and exactly what we still do not know regarding the Paycheck Protection Plan. So let's get started. So I want to make this video because I've been getting a lot of questions about the PPP in the last few weeks, and things like when the application is going to open up, how the application for forgiveness is going to work, as well as just how the process in general is going to work as well. So today I want to address the things that we do not know about the PPP, and then tomorrow I'll be addressing things that we still don't know about the EIDL. So as far as the PPP goes, there is still a lot of things that have yet to be answered by the SBA, and the reason for that is because in this $900 billion stimulus package, there was a part in the package regarding the PPP stating that the SBA had to release further guidance on how exactly the application process as well as the forgiveness process would work moving forward. As of today, they should be releasing that information really any day now. I think that it's not totally unrealistic for us to possibly get it by the end of this week. If not the end of this week, I definitely think that we will start to receive information from the SBA in the middle or the beginning of next week. In fact, there has been reports that the SBA has already started releasing information on this. In fact, a subscriber of mine sent me an email article talking about new PPP rules, but whenever I went back to the SBA website to find it, it said that the page wasn't published. So I'm not really sure exactly what is going on with the PPP process and application and all of that stuff right about now, but I can say that the PPP and guidelines around the PPP will start being released by the SBA in the coming days. With that being said, let's do a recap of what we do know about the PPP. First and foremost is if you are applying for the PPP, you can get a $2 million loan or a loan up to $2 million. You can apply for the PPP even if you received funds in the first round. So even if you've already received funds through this program, even if you've already received a loan, you can qualify for a second round of funding. But the important thing to remember is that the guidelines and the eligibility factors between if you are a first-time applicant or a second-time applicant, they are different. So if you are applying for the PPP for the very first time, you've never received funds through the program, then you will follow the same guidelines and the same restrictions outlined in the CARES Act. This is people with a business of 500 employees or less. You can be a sole proprietor, an independent contractor, or an eligible self-employed individual. Basically, a good rule of thumb is if you would be eligible for an SBA 7A loan, you would also be eligible for this first round of SBA funding. If you are a church or a nonprofit, you will not be eligible for PPP funds. If you are a second-time borrower of the PPP, you could be eligible, but the requirements are a bit different. Instead of having it be 500 employees or fewer, it's 300 employees or fewer. You also have to show a 25% gross revenue decline in any quarter in 2020 versus the same quarter in 2019. So the rule in that regard is very similar to how it is with the EIDL loan program. With the first round of PPP funding, eligible expenses that you could use the funds for included things like payroll, rent, covered mortgage interest, as well as utilities. In the second round of PPP funding, it also includes facility modification expenditures, so things like equipment for your staff or modifications that need to be done to your building in order to accommodate to COVID-19, as well as a handful of different operating costs as well. But now let's talk about the things that we don't yet know about the PPP, because I think it's important to understand these aspects of the bill and of the program, because I think there's a lot of confusion of like how much of this program is released and how much of it is public knowledge. And I think a lot of times people think that they are confused about the program because of the fact that all the details have not been released yet. And the fact is, it's not you being confused, it's not you not understanding the program, it simply is the fact that the program and all of the terms of the program have yet to be released yet as of today, Thursday, January 7th. So the first thing that we do not know regarding the PPP is when the applications will open up for you to start applying. Now, this is something that will logistically, I think, take a little bit of time because of the fact that with the EIDL loan program, you apply directly on the SBA's website. This is not the case with the PPP. With the PPP, you have to to apply through a third-party bank. For an example, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, Blue Vine. These are all places that you could potentially apply for the PPP with. So it's not something that the SBA can just like flip a switch on and then start accepting applications immediately. It is something that will logistically take some time to work out the application process between these third-party banks and the SBA itself. But with that, I do think that we will hear of when the application process is going to open up. I think that we will hear that news in the coming days. When exactly that will happen, when exactly the application will open, though, is still something that we do not know as of today. The second thing that we do not know about the PPP is the exact forgiveness application. So we know that the forgiveness process has been simplified. We know that if you are somebody who borrowed less than $150,000, that you have a single page, super easy to do forgiveness application. It makes it so that the forgiveness process is much more easier than it was before, much more streamlined, and it's something that virtually anyone can do on their own without the assistance of a bank or an accountant or a financial expert. This is really great news, but we still do not know exactly what that one-page document looks like. We do not know what exactly it includes, and we do not know what exactly it's going to look like in order to fill that out and apply for forgiveness. This is, of course, something that I will address on this channel once it is announced, but as of right now, we do not know exactly what this application process is going to look like. This is true for loans of $150,000 or below. This is true for like mid-tier loans. It's also true for larger loans as well. We do not know exactly how the forgiveness application is going to look like, but it is something that I will be addressing at a later date once this is announced. Keep in mind that this one-page forgiveness application has to be released by the SBA 24 days after this bill was passed. And so it's been about a week and a half, 2 weeks at this point. So I expect that we will see that really within the week or so. I would probably expect that we will see information regarding the PPP2 application before we find out about the PPP forgiveness application. That's kind of how I predict that the SBA will announce these things and in which order they'll announce it, but definitely stay tuned. I will be addressing it once the SBA releases guidelines. Another aspect of the PPP that is still a fairly large question is the question of how will EIDL and second round of EIDL funding, how will that affect the second round of the PPP? And the question as of right now is we don't exactly know. You know, with the CARES Act, there was a kind of provision in there saying that if you received the EIDL grant, that would be taken away from the forgiveness of your PPP forgiveness. And I don't know if that will actually end up happening or not with this newest simplified PPP form. I am not exactly sure how that exactly will end up playing out, but I do expect that the SBA will be addressing this. My guess is that just for the sake of ease, for the sake of simplification, I would guess that these won't affect one another, but that is purely speculation. That's purely a guess. So we will definitely be seeing how that is going to play out in the coming weeks and in the coming days. But regardless, I would probably encourage you to still apply for the EIDL as well as the PPP if you're eligible, regardless of how these two programs will affect one another. I mean, if we rewind back to the summer of 2020, at that point in time, we were pretty much fully in understanding that if you received the EIDL grant, it would affect the forgiveness of your PPP funds. And as we sit here today in, January of 2021, it doesn't look like that will be the case, at least with the funds from the CARES Act, just because it hasn't been mentioned. I don't think that it will affect the forgiveness, especially if you're a borrower of under $150,000. And so because of that, I could definitely see kind of the same thing happening this round as well. So I would encourage you, to apply to both programs if you can. And then as far as the forgiveness goes, that can be something that can be addressed once SBA releases guidelines on the forgiveness process. And then lastly is just timelines. I mean, we are still really left in the dark on the exact timelines of how this program is going to work. And I kind of touched on this earlier in the video. How is the application process going to look? What is the exact deadline of when the program will close? When will we see forgiveness applications? All of these things are still yet to be answered, and a lot of them revolve around the timelines in which we can expect to start applying, start receiving, and start applying for forgiveness for these funds. So definitely stay tuned to this channel. I will be addressing all of these topics and all of these questions as soon as the SBA releases guidance. I have been keeping a close eye on the SBA's website, and as of right now, they haven't really released any statements. I've been getting some information here and there from various sources, but overall, there just isn't a whole lot of information out there other than what we've already talked about and other than what has already been outlined in the bill. With that being said, you guys, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have anything to add, make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys in the next video.